Assalamualaikum everyone. Welcome back to another parasitology live session. Parasitology is the study of parasite, and in our recent sessions we've discussed a few parasites, and today we'll be talking about Plasmodium. Let's get into the session. Plasmodium is a protozoan parasite. It is responsible for causing malaria. It's a very famous disease. I know you all might be familiar with that. It has got a few characteristics. Plasmodium is a single-celled parasite, a protozoan parasite. So all the protozoa are single-celled. So Plasmodium is also single-celled. It is blood and tissue parasite. Blood and tissue parasite here means is that this parasite is responsible for targeting these two sites for causing the infection. Plasmodium has got certain forms. Let me tell you about a vector that mosquito uses to. Let me first talk about a vector that Plasmodium uses to cause infection in human beings, and that vector is mosquito. Mosquito acts as a vector for Plasmodium, and it bites the human beings and inserts the sporozoid form of the Plasmodium in humans to cause the infection. And then it goes and targets other areas like tissues and blood, where it forms schizonts, the tissue schizonts and the blood schizonts. And then it also forms merozoites, which are actually responsible for causing the infection, and then trophozoites, hypnozoites. At the end, it forms gametocytes, which are its reproductive forms. And if it is male, it will be microgametocyte, and if it is female, it will be macrogametocyte. Plasmodium, apart from having different forms, also has a few types, like Plasmodium vivax, Plasmodium ovale, Plasmodium malariae, and Plasmodium falciparum. And there is another type which is newly discovered, and that is Plasmodium knowlesi. From the forms of the Plasmodium, it also has certain types, like Plasmodium vivax, Plasmodium ovale, Plasmodium malariae, and Plasmodium falciparum. And there is one another type which is not much, which does not occur much, but is recently discovered, and that is Plasmodium knowlesi. Now let's talk about the classification of protozoa and metazoa, in short, the classification of parasite based on movement. Parasites are further classified into protozoa, which are these celled organisms like Sarcodina, which includes amoebas, for example, Entamoeba histolytica, and sporozoans, which include plasmodium of today's video, and Mastigophora, which includes flagellates like Giardia lamblia, and lastly the ciliata, which includes ciliates. And in metazoa and helminths comes the worms. We'll talk about these worms in the upcoming live sessions. Now let's talk about the classification of parasites based on regions. Based on regions, parasite, the protozoa, is further classified into intestinal, urogenital, tissue, and blood. As Plasmodium is today's video topic, so let me tell you that Plasmodium is blood and tissue parasite. The reason is it targets these two sites for causing the infection. Plasmodium, as I mentioned in the introduction, that section, that it uses a mosquito to transmit the infection, and that mosquito is female Anopheles mosquito. So this is the vector, and it is transmitted, the Plasmodium is transmitted via the mosquito bite, and mosquito injects sporozoites in human blood. These sporozoites are responsible for causing infection, and the hosts of Plasmodium is the human, which are being infected by the Plasmodium, and they get infected, and this disease is called malaria. Let's talk about the pathogenesis. Pathogenesis means how the infection is caused. As I've said earlier, that Plasmodium in its sporozoid form is injected into human blood, like the hepatocytes in the liver, and it converts into merozoites. After tissue schizoids, and it converts into merozoites, and then these merozoites are responsible for destroying the red blood cells, which are the main part of the human blood. So when these will be destroyed, what will the human get? Human will get anemia. And one of the symptoms of malaria is fever, and it has a cyclic pattern. So the cyclic fever pattern is due to the periodic release of merozoites. Plasmodium can infect red blood cells of all ages. Different types of plasmodiums like vivax, ovale, malaria, they infect different ages of red blood cells, like red blood cells of different ages. So if we talk about falciparum, it infects the red blood cells of all ages, and it then causes aggregates of red blood cells that occlude the capillaries. This occlusion will stop the blood flow, and this can cause tissue anoxia. In the introduction section where I've talked about the forms of the Plasmodium, there was a form named hypnozoites. So let's talk about hypnozoites right now. Hypnozoites is the dormant form of the Plasmodium, where it does not cause any infection and it stays dormant for a long period of time. And when the person recovers from malaria, after some time, these hypnozoites wake up and then they cause the infection. And this is why hypnozoites are said to cause relapses of the infection. Clinical findings. Now let's look at what is the clinical picture of a patient suffering from malaria. The patient will present with symptoms like fever, chills and rigors, headache, malaise, fatigue, nausea, vomiting, and anorexia. Lab diagnosis. We'll need the sample of blood. Why? Because blood is the target site of Plasmodium for causing the infection. And Plasmodium is also the blood parasite. So we'll take the sample, we'll go and visualize it under the microscope. And on microscopy, we'll see the single-celled Plasmodium. And we sometimes are able to figure out the different types of Plasmodium like ovale, falciparum, malaria, knowlesi, whatever it is. And then we can also go for the culture and we'll find out the type of colony, the color of the colony of the Plasmodium.